McKenzie.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, this is how we do our yay.
Yay.
Welcome to our fireside chat. We have these monthly, and we have, it's a intimate event with our fans who are here today. We're going to be asking you questions, and then we're going to have our fans ask you questions that they like, and then we'll take it from there. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in because
I love it.
Excited. Michael, do you want to go ahead and take it away?
Wanted to ask you, what was it like growing up in a showbiz family in a showbiz town where your parents working in the business just afforded you an inside look into Hollywood and how it all works?
You know, it didn't really click in my head that I was living a different life from everybody else. You know, I think part of that too, because of the way that I grew up, and I was bullied in school, so I never felt like the Hollywood child, even though I did Raging Bull when I was 3 and did amazing stuff. But it first of all, my parents never really promoted that. They were very down to earth and always kept things that way. But I was so horribly bullied and picked on at school that I always felt like the outcast. So I never felt like it was anything extraordinary what I was living. The only thing that, got out of control one time was my mom knew that I loved Reebok sneakers, and she bought me, Reeboks in every single color. And then of course the kids hated me even more. I was made fun of even more for that. So, but really, growing up, when my dad started, Star Trek, I was 8 or 9, and Paramount Studios became my playground. And the only time that I remember it clicking for me, I think it might have been either we were driving into Paramount Studios, or I was going to like the Emmys with my dad, and that was one of those moments where it was like, oh my God, like I'm not living a normal life right now. This is not a normal upbringing, and we're going on a red carpet, and it was very, I remember that moment was like that aha moment of, okay, this is a different life. So it was it was a normal upbringing though, for the most part.
Yeah, of course, we all only know like the one we grow up with. So of course, like that would be, but driving onto that Paramount lot, there's so many lots in this town, but driving onto that one with the gate and the sign, it's just something magical about it.
Yes.
We actually have a policy here with the Fireside Chats. Anyone who is mean to us in school, we read their names publicly, and then we dox them and shame them and get them canceled.
Oh,
so go ahead. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I know.
Do you have memories of, I know you're only 3 years old. Were you 3 years old when you filmed Raging Bull? And do you have any memories of that?
The only memory I have is peeking around a corner and seeing Kathy Moriarty and Robert De Niro on set by the pool. That's the only memory I have. I remember being very shy, and I don't know, it just wasn't jiving for me. And shortly thereafter, I actually went through a period of I became mute, and I wouldn't talk for about a year after that. I would hide behind my mom's legs. So we don't know what happened, but I would hide behind my mom's legs, and I couldn't communicate. And my mom, being Canadian, obviously there's different strokes for different folks, but the way she was raised, therapy wasn't really an option at that age, but acting felt like the best means to get me out of my shell and to help me to communicate. And we all joke that, was that a good thing or a bad thing? Because now they can't shut me up. And, I got on stage, and it was like the world became my oyster. I'll never forget actually getting on stage for the first time, and the teacher just telling me, all I want you to do is just open a box and act out what you found. And for me, it was a butterfly, which looking back, I feel is very symbolic that at 4 years old, I found a butterfly that metamorphosed. So that's what I acted out on stage, was finding a butterfly and, gently holding it in my hand and watching it take off. So.
That's beautiful. I'd like to, have you ever run into De Niro or Kathy over the years, and have you said, hey, that was me?
I actually did run into Robert De Niro when I was in my 20s. My dad was still doing Star Trek, and Robert
Wow.
was filming over on Paramount. And my dad said,
Oh,
I
wow.
think I was doing Passions at the time. And my dad said, why don't you come over? I'm going to take you over to see Robert. And I'm freaking out because I don't remember doing Raging Bull. I just remember that moment peeking around the corner. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to meet freaking Robert De Niro. And it was like nothing to everybody else. So we were sitting in his trailer waiting, and he walks in and he gives my dad a big hug. Mike, how you doing? Good to see you. He sees me, shakes my hand. He's like, hi, I'm Robert De Niro. And all of a sudden he looks me in the eyes and he goes, baby McKenzie. And it was my eyes
Wow.
that brought him back and made him remember the days when he would help babysit me while my mom was like cleaning the house and doing stuff. And it was like, I'm like, just like, oh my God, you're Robert De Niro. And he's like, baby McKenzie, come here. And he's hugging me. And I'm ready to jump out of my skin because I'm getting hugged by Robert De Niro.
That's an amazing story. When you watch the movie, does that trigger anything? Or when was the last time you watched it? And does that like go, oh yeah, now I remember more?
It's been a while since I've seen it, but no, it doesn't. It doesn't trigger any memories.
Right.
Weirdly. Like I said, I don't have a lot of memories, weirdly enough. I don't know, before the age of like 8. I can't remember a whole heck of a lot. I remember a couple of things, but not a lot.
People's memories work differently. Some are like ultra specific and others pick up at different times. Can you talk about the audition process for Passions? Was there a lot of hoopla about it, that it was, because it was rare for there to be a new soap opera starting up?
Yes.
And can you talk about like the audition process, what you went through when you, did you screen test with Galen? Did they find you first or did they find him first? And NBC had a piece of the show, so it was a very important property to them. Can you talk about what that whole experience was like?
It was an amazing experience, I gotta say, leading up to it. Mind you, prior to auditioning, or it might have been during the auditions for Passions, I booked an episode of Star Trek as a character. And it was a time when I had to go in under a different last name because they would not hire me as Westmore. So I had to go in with a different last name, and I got the job. And because they didn't believe in doing that, in casting.
Did you use spelling? No, I'm just kidding.
So yeah, I went in under a different last name, and I got the job on Voyager. And during that time, I would say it was December of 1999 was when I started to audition for Passions. And I remember, my agent calling me, and this is an amazing thing. It's a new soap opera. And this is, when soaps were still in their heyday. And I was blown away. And so I remember auditioning for it, and I was almost going to turn it down because I had already had a talk with my parents about, I just wasn't booking anything. I had already gone on probably about 1,000 auditions. And from that had booked Star Trek and booked another show I'm blanking on right now, and Weird Science, the TV show. And I just felt that I wanted to keep going, but they said, listen, it's just not working. Maybe you need to go back to school or go to school. I'd already done some minor college, but they said, maybe you need to, go to college and hone in on your craft. And so I had auditioned for the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music because I was always an opera singer and a dancer and an actress. And so I was accepted into the school. I went through the audition process and I was accepted into the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music. And I was getting ready to pack my bags and go. But during this time, as I was doing this, I'd done Star Trek, and there was talks of maybe bringing me back, maybe not. They didn't know if they were going to have me become the love interest to Ensign Kim. But there was talk, but that was it. It was just talk. And so meanwhile, I was auditioning for Passions. So December of 99, I went in for the character of Gwen. And then January, I got called back for Gwen. Third time got called back for Gwen. Third audition for Gwen. And I'll never forget sitting in the waiting room, watching this beautiful woman walk by. And I was like, and she had like this like entourage around her. And I was like, well, who's that? And somebody said, oh yeah, she's auditioning for Gwen. That's Susan Lucci's daughter. And I was like, oh, might as well leave now. I'm not getting this job. I mean, freaking Susan Lucci's daughter. There's no way I'm going to get this one. And she's got an entourage. I'm screwed. So it was my third audition. I went in, and I gotta give, and God rest their souls, both Richard Schilling and Lisa DeCazat looked at me in the room. They said, "You're just not a Gwen to us. You just read so much Sheridan." And I was like, well, okay, cool. You know, who's Sheridan? And they gave me a new script, gave me new sides to go over and new scenes. And then I went back in and started the audition process all over again. So this is now January, February, March, auditioning over and over. And my last audition, it got down between me and a couple of other girls reading for Sheridan. And my audition was actually with Don Philip Smith, who was one of the casting directors. And it was really fun because we clicked. He was a sweetheart and he didn't care. I mean, he blushed, but I just went for it. I was like, you know what? This is a soap opera. I want to book this job. I really don't want to go to college if I don't have to. I want to book this thing. And I'm sitting on his lap. I'm kissing him. I'm just like all over. And he's dying because he just was like red. I mean, just blushing so much. But it was fun. I figured, you know what? And if I don't get this, at least I'm going to go out and have fun and then head off to college. So do the audition. I never read with Galen. I remember I was really bummed actually. I was still living with my parents at the time. And I just was bummed because I was like, okay, you know, I guess I'm going to school. Nothing's going on. And I got a phone call. And the woman on the phone said, you know, we would need you to come in for a wardrobe fitting. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, well, I just did Star Trek. And I said to her, I thought I was getting to come back for Star Trek. So I said to her, well, you already have my uniform. You already have my Star Trek uniform. Why do I need a fitting? She was like, Star Trek, what? She's like, no, you're Sheridan Crane. And I lost it. I started crying. And so it was the head of wardrobe. Wow. Then 30 minutes later, my agent called me and said, hey, you booked the job. I was like, I already know, I got it. And I mean, I was screaming, I was crying, and like every emotion came out. It was like, I was given, you know, all the gold in the world. That's what it felt like. And it was amazing because they'd said to me, you know, not only that, but is your passport up to date? Because in a week you got to leave for France. So it's like, okay, I'm 20 years old. I just booked a job of a lifetime and I get to go to France for the first time. What? Like I hit the jackpot.
Proof positive that hair, makeup, wardrobe, they always know everything before everyone else.
Always. They always know everything before everyone.
I think we've got some fan questions that we want to let in. Does someone have a question that they would like to read or say to McKenzie?
Yes, actually we have
Sheridan.
a couple of fans here. They're totally excited to ask you some questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and hand it off to our first fan.
Like how do you get to stay like, you know, I guess camera ready for like, you know, the acting part? Like, cause I mean, it's not like you haven't been like on screen or anything. It's just like when you feel like you're taking a little break or something and then like you get back onto the screen, like how do you just be like, I'm back in the groove type thing?
I think because I've been doing it for so much of my life, it's like a switch that I just got to turn on. You know, it's like, I mean, even today, even doing this, it's still me that's doing this, but you know, I had to do my hair and my makeup, and I've learned very quick tips and tricks, and you know, and that's also why I started Westmore Beauty, was to bring some of these tips and quick solutions to everybody. But I still have to get ready. Yet I'm dealing with, I might even need jaw surgery because I'm dealing with such horrible TMJ. And I'm going to find out tomorrow what's going to happen. But daily I've been going through treatments. I don't know if you can see the bruising on the side here, but I've been going through treatments of needling and so much. And it's scary to go through something that's dealing with your jaw through COVID, because I have to constantly take my mask off. So every day I'm living in fear when I go to a different doctor, a different surgeon. You know, am I going to be okay? Was my jaw going to lock on me? And this has been the last 3-4 weeks. But at the same time, I still have to work. I still have to do QVC. I still have to be available for interviews. So I have to kind of compartmentalize. And I give a lot of credit to Howard Fine, who is actually one of my acting coaches, who would always teach us, you know, when you walk into the studio, which like right now is my office, and this is my studio, or the minute I sit in front of my computer now, I leave life at the door. that stays there. I have to like just check everything, you know, whether it's my son who's having an issue with algebra right now, whether it's my TMJ, whether it's whatever it is, I have to check it at the door and just become what I need to become for whatever's happening in the moment. And I still audition. I still do auditions by Zoom. And, you know, I'll turn to Patrick and ask him, well, what do you think for this one? Like hair makeup always becomes like the biggest issue for me. That's always like the biggest gripe for me of, you know, what is this one? And he's the first one to be like, just do nothing, just stop. But don't put any makeup on. Just, I'm like, but I want to. He's like, it's not the character. It's not. And he'll read through the scripts and be like, don't, you're not going to get this role. And I never really do book the roles because I'm always like going against him, which I probably should listen to him. So really, it's just a matter of checking everything at the door. And I focus my all into what is in front of me at that moment.
Yeah.
I hope that helps.
Absolutely insightful. I love what you said. It's so funny because a lot of women, it's hair and makeup is like the first thing. That's what we're thinking about.
Yes.
Even doing video Zoom, even doing all of that, it's like, oh my God, how do I look? So
yeah.
So we have another question now, and it's from Inna. Inna, are you ready?
My question is basically like, if you could do Passions now and you can make up your own ending for Sheridan and Luis, how would you have them reconnect?
Oh, good question. I would do it. I think it'd be amazing to do like a Passions reboot. And when I did my podcast with Travis and Natalie, we talked about this of like bringing Sheridan and Luis and like that age bracket, but bring them back older with their own kids grown up now. Like Marty's back, he's a teenager. That would be number one. Number two, I would love to see it start still with Sheridan and Luis separated. And so, I don't know how, but somehow they got to come back together. I just feel like either Antonio died or they divorced. I don't know. I just want them apart. I don't care how. I just want him gone. And I want Sheridan back with Luis somehow. That's all I care about.
I think that you've definitely just said what everyone wants to hear.
Yeah.
So
you know what?
Everyone says what we're all like.
I was just as much a fan of Passions as the fans. You know, I would go home and I would watch it. That was also my way of keeping up on the other storylines because I never read the whole script. I would get 100 pages a day and I'd be like, there's no way I'm reading this entire thing. I don't care what the teens are doing right now. And I don't care what, you know, the older crowd is doing right now. I just got to focus on my 50 pages or my 25 pages. I got to memorize what I got to memorize. And so my way of catching up on the show and knowing what was going on was to watch the show, and I became a fan. So for me, it always felt like a slap in the face that Sheridan and Luis did not end up together.
Well, since you said you watched the show, who were you biggest fan of? What did you love most on the show? And what, if you could have, would you have changed?
My favorite to watch was usually Ben Masters. Anything Julian was doing, I mean, and him just as an actor, he had some of the funniest lines, and he was such a fantastic actor. I always loved watching his scenes. Even when it went to the 101, it became ridiculously crazy where his penis was cut off and sewed on backwards. Even that, I was like, this is insane, but I love it. And the way that poor man played it, God bless him for doing that role. If I could have changed anything, I maybe would have changed that they didn't write my own personal life into it as much as it was. That's one thing I maybe would have changed.
We are probably going to wrap it up so we can let you get off and do what you want. But McKenzie, we would love to have you back again for a longer time, a longer chat.
Yes.
So we can talk more about maybe your stuff, because it sounds really exciting. And I'm telling you, I'm not joking when I say Zoom, makeup, hair. Everybody is like into that.
I got the tips. I got the tricks. I'll help you out with whatever you need because I've learned.
I would love to have a chat with you with our soap ladies. And yes. So yeah, we'll definitely talk to get you back again. But for everyone here today, thank you guys so much for attending. And McKenzie, thank you so much for being here. We enjoyed it. It's such a pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
So much.
I'll give
Bye. Lots of love.